And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate. I'm Ray, and we are broadcasting live Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. I almost said 2023. I'm still in last year, maybe a little bit. Thanks, everyone, for joining the show. We're broadcasting everywhere. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and we're even on Clubhouse, too. So the title of today's show is Alert! Falling prices and rising rates. So we'll talk about exactly what's happening on this week's show in the economy. We also have a little bit of industry tea, but it's mostly news today. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're joining us live, you can actually add your thoughts to the program in a couple of ways. One is if you're on YouTube, you can comment. I can display your comment and I can talk about you, or I can just talk about your comment. If you're on Instagram, you could say something and tune in there, and I will read your comment along with your Instagram username. And if you're on Clubhouse, you can actually raise your hand and come up to the stage. I have a couple of moderators there. And if you have a bio, if you have like a filled out profile and you're not a total creeper, they'll bring you up, and then you can add your voice to the show. MiaZol.Realtor said, "Where am I?" Which platform? You are on Instagram. So Mia's joining us on Instagram already today. Let's see. And if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, I can also display your comments there too. So thanks everybody for joining us. Please do all the share things and send this to people in the industry that you think may need to know exactly what's happening in the news. The whole reason why I do this show is because I'm looking at this news every week, all the time anyway. And I thought, well, if I'm looking at this news and having conversations with agents around the country about the news, then I might as well just put together 1 hour where I review the news that I think is most pertinent or most important to the real estate industry. So you guys have one place to go. You don't have to keep going to something daily. You don't have to keep downloading different podcasts. It's just one place to go to get the latest real estate news and headlines, so you don't have to go anywhere else. So, and if you enjoy that, if you like it, would you let me know? Because if you let me know that you actually watch the show, I'm more likely to keep doing it. So thank you guys for joining us. Hi from Detroit, Michigan. Hi from Metro Detroit, Michigan, says Nicolta Cap Michigan Realtor over on Instagram. Hey, thanks for joining the show. Hopefully I said your name. I bet it's Natalka. Is that right? Tell me how close I am. It's like Natalie, but it's just Natal K.A. if y'all are looking for her on Instagram. So thanks for joining the show. All right, so let's dive right into this news. It's not the best of times for NAR, and it hasn't been for a long time. Oh, she said I got it right. Yay. Look at that. Mia Zoll's from Fort Lauderdale. She wants to remind everybody over on Instagram. All right, so this has not been Peter Rader. What's up, man? I'm going to see a lot of you guys. Sorry. I keep almost getting to the story, and then great people are commenting over on Instagram. So thank you guys for joining over there. The real Peter Rader. I can't wait to see you. I'm going to, oh, look, it's doing the automatic. I can't wait to see you over on, I guess in August at Tom Ferry. I'm sure you're going, right? So if y'all are going to Tom Ferry in August, I'll be there. Send me a message and let me know you're going to go. I'd love to meet some of you in person that I've never met before. We had done like a little Be More meetup one day. That used to be the Bearded Men of Real Estate show, was the original name of the show. But maybe we'll do like a little meetup sometime. So, all right, well, let's get to the first news headline. It's not been a wonderful time to be in NAR this year. The DOJ is now allowed to reopen the investigation into the National Association of Realtors. So this has been, the Broke Agent Media has the best coverage of this. What's up, Lindsay? Broke Agent Media has the best coverage of this. DOJ versus NAR backstory. They have a bullet point backstory of everything that's happened since 2020, November of 2020, which is when we first started covering the story. So the DOJ sent a letter to NAR agreeing to close investigations after agreeing to a settlement. That settlement required NAR to improve transparency regarding broker commissions and to stop misrepresenting buyer agent services as free. Y'all remember that? That was when times were so simple. I mean, that was so easy compared to where we are today. So in 2021, with a new president in office, the DOJ withdrew the settlement, arguing that the settlement terms put undue restrictions on regulators, preventing their investigation of rules that they deem harmful to consumers. In 2021, NAR filed a petition to either set aside or modify the DOJ's probes. And so it's been going back and forth since then. I'll kind of spare you the list. If you want to see the full list, you could just head over to Broke Agent Media. And in July of 2024, NAR's request for a rehearing was officially denied. And they wanted to rehear that the DOJ could reopen the investigations. So in an email, the NAR spokesperson said, this ruling stands in opposition of years of precedence in the interpretation of government contracts and the bedrock principle that the government must honor its word. We are evaluating all remaining legal options and are committed to exploring all avenues to ensure the DOJ is held to the terms of our 2020 agreement. And I think this is probably the biggest deal that's coming from this, is when the DOJ creates a settlement with someone, they're basically going back on that settlement. And the industry changed how it operated because of that agreement with the DOJ. So they're saying, well, it puts undue strain on regulators and like following up, I guess, to see if we're actually doing this stuff. But think about the change that happened in NAR. And I mean, it was pretty big. It was pretty wide sweeping. And now the DOJ is being allowed to actually reopen the investigation, essentially going back on the settlement that they originally penned with NAR. And that's a big deal, because if they can do that with the NAR, then who else can they do that with? And so now the way the DOJ enforces things and the way that the DOJ investigates things is going to be heavily dependent on who's in the White House. And that is, I think that's the wrong way. So in my opinion, whether the agreement was great or not is a different discussion. If you make a settlement and if you say, yes, this is the settlement, then the DOJ should be held to those terms just like anyone else. Now, if they're investigating the terms of the settlement to see if those things were upheld, that's different. That's fine. But they're not doing that. They're trying to find more wrongdoing in the situation. So we'll keep an eye on it. Matt LaMarche is here. What's up, Matt? Misha Thompson's also here. What's up, Misha? He said, Ray, you beautiful beast. Oh, thanks, man.
Hey.
Matt is everywhere. Matt is on Clubhouse, which you just heard. He's also on YouTube. And he's also on LinkedIn. And he says, I like ice cream, man. I can't really do it. I can't. That's not a good one.
Well, that's why I haven't been to the show. I've been practicing my impressions. It's gotten a lot better, though. I'll tell you that much.
I need to hear it then.
See, it's like a thing you can't really, man, I got to find the right moment.
You got to find the right moment. Right. Okay. Well, when you do, it'll be huge.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It'll be huge. Listen, okay. Excuse me.
That's so bad. So Misha Thompson said, so tell me if the DOJ is now telling the sellers what they want to do with their money. Aren't we in somewhat of a dictatorship with finances? Yeah. Well, it's not really, I guess you could call it, isn't that a banana republic? What's the definition? Isn't that the definition of a banana republic? Let me make sure. Yeah. All right. So the definition of a banana republic is small nation, especially in Central America, dependent on the influx of foreign capital. Well, no, that's not a banana republic then. What's the term when the government is basically interfering with regulations and always like pulling the string? There's a term for it. I can't remember what the term is now, but it's basically when government.
Fascism?
Yeah, maybe it's just fascism then. Yeah. Maybe it's just fascism. Brian Hershey, what's up, Brian? He said that's why everyone should vote for me for president. He's not talking about me. He's talking about himself. Brian is right. He's a write-in. If you want to write in Brian Hershey, it's a friend from college. You're more than welcome to. He's a good guy. Mizol says,
hey Ray.
Yes.
We call those people in the appraisal management companies.
Those that are pulling the strings and changing things at the last minute for you. Those are appraisal management, not sticking to the agreement that they once had. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Thanks, Cap the Appraiser. What's up, Mike? Mike's up here too. Let's see. Mizol says, does that mean the show your face? What does that mean? The show your face? I don't know what you're saying. If you join. Oh, Show your face if you join. No, so you can only show your face if you join. We were doing like the last show of the month was like a listener call, and where listeners could actually get on the show and actually get on the video. But there were a couple of months in a row where we couldn't do that because of travel and all this other stuff. But I want to get back to that. So maybe we'll do that this month at the end of the month. If you're interested, Mia, let me know and I'll put you on the show. Fanny Fleming Realtor said, "You are a wise man. Tell it like it is." Yes. Thank you. All right. So we have another issue. Broke Agent Media again coming through. This one is about the Consumer Watchdog. If you remember last week, we talked about the California and Mike, have you seen the California buyer agreement stuff yet? Have you been privy to that?
I'm not a big form geek, so
I know. You said that last week too. You're like, I don't know. A great California realtor, but no idea about the forms.
I'll deal with it when I have to.
Yeah, but they have something final. You'll actually take a look at it. Like, why even study it before it's final? So last week we talked about how they were under fire for the California real estate buyer agency contract and how it was not clear who was going to get paid or where. So now we have this article coming to us that says the Consumer Watchdog, which tore apart that form, releases criteria for evaluating a home buyer contract form. So the criteria is length. The contract should be written solely for the home purchasers, excluding renters. It should not include marginal provisions designed solely to protect the interests of the broker. And the agency agreement should be a separate document. I think that's interesting. They're trying to separate a contract which puts representation for the buyer and has no protection for the agent. And that agency agreement should be a separate document than a commission agreement defining who's paid and how. I feel like that's more confusing. Now, I like the idea of having a document that's different for renters than for purchasers. That makes sense because it's two kind of different categories of transaction. But that's a really interesting. The contract should be written solely for home purchasers, excluding renters. It should not include marginal provisions designed solely to protect the interests of the broker. That's in a day and age where real estate agents can get taken. That's interesting. And then the agency agreement should be a separate document. So you just have a commission agreement here and an agency agreement there. Well, what are the people paying for? If you're paying for the agency representation, then shouldn't that be in the same agreement? Like if I was going to go buy a boat, I wouldn't expect two different contracts, one regarding the boat and the other regarding me paying money. Like in the service, the agency representation? I don't get that part. Type size. Most courts recommend 12 point. Anything smaller will be difficult for some people to read. I do agree. I have seen some forms out there that are so small. They fit everything on one of those, 8.5 by 14 legal size documents front and back, and it's super tiny. No, the forms in Arkansas are actually pretty nice. They're well written, very clear, and they have large font. So it's multiple pages anytime we print them out. But who prints? Who prints anymore? Organization. The most important information, including compensation arrangements, should be at the beginning of the document and clearly labeled. All right, well, that's fine. I think you could have them anywhere in the document and clearly labeled. People should be reading the entire document before they sign it. So I don't really agree with the placement. And you have to read if you sign a contract, you're responsible for every word in that contract. So you better read the whole thing. Plain language. The contract should be written so that it's understood by home buyers. That's obvious. It should not contain words and language that can be understood only by lawyers. Well, that's a little subjective. I mean, you have to rely on your buyer being somewhat educated in order to sign the contract and of clear mind. So I think that one's pretty subjective. That doesn't really give any clear outline. But yes, it should be written so it's understandable by the person that's signing it. That seems to be obvious. The CFA criteria to ensure fairness to home buyers, length of contract, termination. Oh, these are the sections. Length of contract, termination of contract, compensation disclosure, compensation commission, compensation fees, compensation when owed, compensation continuing obligation, seller concessions, dual agency, conflict of interest, and buyer remedies. And then they have a proposed criteria for evaluating home buyer contract forms document on their. It's like a PDF here. Consumer protect. So I think it's okay. I really like our forms because they are very clear. It does protect somewhat both the buyer and the agent. And it's very clear in how it outlines the duties that the agent is supposed to do and what we're going to be held to and responsible for. And it asks the client to basically allow us to do that job for them and not to get in the way. And if they do get in the way, that we won't be liable or responsible for that. It gives clear, it outlines very clearly what an agent could be held responsible for and what it can't be held responsible for. In other words, it says like, hey, you've got to check if you're nervous about mold and sex offenders, you've got to check that stuff. I can't be held liable for not knowing that somebody just moved in next door, or, I'm not a mold inspector, so I can't be held liable. So, where the warning is for the consumer, I think that's important. It also protects the brokerage, but I think that's important that they should know what one party is liable for and what the other party is not liable for. And that is not, that is not in their doc. So I think that would be important to have in there. But otherwise, it seems like it's pretty obvious. I don't really like splitting up a compensation versus agency because that's essentially what somebody is paying for. So that doesn't make sense. I froze over on Instagram for a second. But anyway, I encourage you guys, especially California agents, Mike, I encourage you guys to go check that out. It's on Broke Agent Media. It's a article that is not behind a paywall. At the bottom of that article, they have the link to the proposed criteria for evaluating homebuyer contract forms. If you're at a brokerage that creates your own representation forms, that's totally fine. But it does have some good guidelines that you want to be sure to remember. So there you have it. That's all the industry tea that we have, which I think is wild. I thought there was going to be way more this summer, but for the last 2 weeks, there's only been an article or two. So let's get into the economy. This one's political, but it's interesting. In swing states, typical homebuyers' monthly payment has nearly doubled since the last presidential election. So since our last show, I should say, there's a lot gone on. There's been an attempt to take the life of one of the candidates. That's the best way I can say that and not get canceled. There has been basically the Democrats seem to be trying to oust their candidate, and then some want him to stay. And one of the things, and the reason why I bring this up, one of the things that seems to delay the economy is if there's volatility around who will be president or who will be taking office, what those policies will be. And every year, or every election year around this time, it seems to really slow down as people kind of wait and see. They want something, they want to know what's happening so that they can start to act on that. Whether it's a D or an R, it doesn't matter. They just want no volatility. So it seems that most people are saying, most pundits, most political folks, I don't know what they're called. What are the political pundits? The people that commentate on politics are saying that since everything has happened on the D's and the R's and the debates and everything else, it seems that Trump is likely to win the presidency. Whether you're for that or against that, that's not my point. My point is, if the majority of folks think that, and it becomes kind of this landslide that this is going to happen, it's going to be good for us in the business because people will start to make decisions knowing that this outcome is most likely. It would be the same, actually, if a D was going to win and not the R. So it doesn't really matter, D or R, in this context of the economy. It is knowing who's going to be there so that people can start to make the decisions. And the more advanced they could start to make those decisions, then the more potential benefit they have on the other side. So it seems that, and one of the signs is what is happening in the swing states. And if the swing states have been damaged in any way under the current candidate, then they usually start to swing back the other way. So this is another sign of this. In swing states, typical homebuyers' monthly payment has nearly doubled since the last presidential election. Median monthly housing payments for buyers in swing states has doubled since 2020, rising 92% to an all-time high of $2,161. The report, based on Redfin analysis of housing market data, includes blue for Democratic leaning, red for Republican leaning swing states. From 2016 to 2024, the data is annual for 2016 to 2023, and the 2024 data includes January through May. All right, so here's the report, and it's basically it's a swoop up. It's not a hockey stick, but it's a swoop up, and it starts to hill again on the top side. And it's the same shape for both blue and red. However, in blue states, it seems to have gone up more than in red states. And in swing states, it seems to have gone up a little bit more than in red states. One of the reasons is because heavy Democrat-leaning cities are generally large populations where a lot of people want to live. And in those cases, they have higher home prices, higher monthly payments. Think California, New York. They seem to be mostly liberal. And so naturally, that median monthly home payment is going to be much higher in blue states than red states or swing states, which red states make up a lot of the middle of the country. But this swing state is the real key factor. Typical swing state home has gone from affordable to unaffordable. I mean, that's a household earning a median swing state income of $79,155 would spend 32.8% of their earnings to afford a typical home. I think that's really interesting. So there's more on this if you're if you're a news junkie and maybe into the politics of it. Just go to redfin.com. They have this full report. Just 35% of swing state listings are affordable. That's down from 66% of affordable listings in 2020. Another reason why I like to talk about this is because if you recall, our good friend Susie Orman, who said, I want to say this was in 2020. It was right after the pandemic and everything was announced. And she came out and said, don't buy a house. The worst mistake you do is buy a house because by the end of the year, everyone's going to be in foreclosure and your neighbor's home is going to be worth half of what it is now. And so wait till then to buy the home because home prices are going to go down. And since then, home prices have just exploded. Like, it's difficult to predict something so incredibly inaccurate as she was able to do in this case. And it has not slowed down. It's continued to go up. We have some other charts on another news story here in a second. And I love any time I can bring that up because, as you know, I went public and said she's way wrong, even before I knew she was going to be wrong. She's way wrong. Here's how she's wrong. Here's what's going to happen. And I was proven right. And it's not that I had a crystal ball. It's just that I was looking at common sense. And it seems like a lot of the pontificators who are on the YouTubes, who are trying to get you to buy their book or enroll in their program, are saying extreme things so that you'll click and you'll enroll when their actual advice is probably much different from the stuff that they're telling publicly. So just be aware. If you're still watching YouTubers who are saying the market's going to crash, go look at their videos from 2020. And if they were saying the housing market's going to crash right then you could just know that they're not honest. All right, so let's talk about home sale. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about. Home sale prices hit record high for 9th straight week, but rising supply and slow demand could dampen further price growth. Sale prices remain stubbornly high despite of elevated mortgage rates pushing down home buying demand. Pending home sales are down 3.5% year over year, and mortgage purchase applications are down 13%. There are signs that growth may lose momentum soon. Typical home is selling for 0.4% less than its asking price. So this was the first time that a typical home sold under list price since the start of July 2020. So now is when home prices are going a little down a little, a whole 0.4%. So huge savings, huge. The savings are huge. So that report is also on Redfin. And then we have this really interesting, I love this article from, I thought it was from realtor.com. Let me see. Where is this from? Oh, it's on CNBC. Yeah, CNBC. So it says the housing market explained in 6 charts. And we love charts on the show. So the first chart that is showing is the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate in the U.S. It's down to 6.89%. But back when Susie was telling you not to buy a house, by the way, it was about 3.33, 3.5. Yeah. It got to its lowest. That's poetic. It got to its lowest in December of 2020, the exact month that Susie Orman told you that the whole entire real estate industry would crash. Then it's gone up. The highest it's been lately is 7.79% in October of 2023. It was just last year. And then it's dropped significantly since then, all the way down to 6.2 and then back up to 7. And now it's down to 6.86, which it hasn't been under, or 6.89. And it hasn't been under 7 in a minute. So that's where we currently are. The next chart they look at is the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index home price index. And as you can see, back when Miss Susie Orman was telling you to wait, don't buy a home because the market will crash and home prices will go down. It was 217.24. Is that thousands? I'm assuming. And now it's all the way up to 320. What? So home prices have gone up. They really haven't. They haven't gone back. They're not going to go back down. Michael Fix Real Estate said, "Great call, Susan." Jack,
I had to jump off for Ray. I had to jump off for a call. Did I really miss a Susie section of the pod today?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Poor timing on my part.
We always love to hear it. Yeah, I recapped her prediction and how wrong it was. Matt Lamar said Susie Orman didn't read my book, The Art of the Deal, obviously. Wait, that was in his Trump voice. Wait. Susie Orman didn't read my book, The Art of the Deal. That's my best try. It's not a very good Trump, but that's my best try.
No, that was good. Also, I just want to comment real quick. Jack's picture on Clubhouse here, he kind of looks Secret Service-y.
He does look a little bit Secret Service-y. You put a little earbud in that avatar photo, and suddenly you are protecting the POTUS, sir.
Secret agent, man.
Secret agent, man. I mean, if I would have had that queued up, that would have been amazing, but I didn't.
And I have a separate contract for compensation, by the way.
Oh, you do have a separate contract for compensation? Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
I'm an agent.
Well, we have a disclosure. We have a separate disclosure about compensation, but it's not a contract for compensation. Compensation is in the contract.
Can I bounce back to that for a second?
Yeah,
Why are we the only industry that has to do a Navy SEAL obstacle course with the consumer? I mean, is this opening the door for every other industry, or is it just targeted to us because of the size of the product or the I don't know, the magnitude of what we're representing? It just seems like a lot of.
Jack, that's a really great point because financial advisors don't do this. you sign on the line, just like the boat example. I used to sell boats, by the way, and we didn't have 2 pages; it was 1. And you signing that piece of paper and then handing your credit card or your money order or your check over, that was the agreement. That was the extent of it. We didn't require anything else.
Or an electrician or a
exactly.
I mean, anything, anything that you're representing somebody. I mean, bring a cup of lemonade on the side of the road. I don't know. It just seems very. It's either setting up for setting up the pins for more to fall, or it's just going to be about real estate and a bunch of attorneys making money. I don't know.
I don't know that you could sell lemonade on the side of the road anymore, by the way. I think that's illegal in a lot of
You're right.
That's true.
But in my administration, no, I'm just all right. So let's go ahead.
I love the lemonade, the sugar, and the lemons and the
All right, NAR Housing Affordability Index is the third chart they have on here. So the first chart, rates. Second chart, home prices. Third chart, NAR Housing Affordability, which takes into account rates and home prices. But it does add one thing, which is incomes. So it looks at your incomes. Now, this is at the lowest, almost at the lowest. So it was at the very lowest in October of 2023 when rates hit 7%. Now it is at the second lowest in May of 2024, and it's 93.1. It was 91.4. So housing affordability is super low. Scores above 100 indicate higher affordability. So we're almost off the charts down. Affordability was at its highest point in April of 2020. I believe that's when I released my video telling people to buy houses right now. You have to buy houses right now. Don't listen to Susie Orman. That was April of 2020. That was when homes were the most affordable in the recent history of housing. So it's interesting that we are at the least affordable. Rates are going down though, right? Rates are going down. Home prices are staying up. The next chart is the share of income needed to own a median home in the U.S. That also went down and is now trickling back up a little bit in April of 2024 to 43.1% of your income is needed to afford a home. 30% of income is the threshold for affordability. So we are currently at 43.1. It started to become unaffordable in May of 2021. That's when affordability was starting to edge up. And then it really peaked in October of 2023 when rates again were at 7%. So of course, all these numbers are very rate sensitive. If you laid these graphs on top of each other, do they do that? They should really do that. If you lay these graphs on top of each other, no, they don't do that. Had I planned ahead, I just had this idea just now, but that would be cool to lay these graphs on top of each other so you can see how they relate to one another over the amount of time. But I think you'll see that the biggest differentiator is not necessarily rate. The biggest differentiator is this one right here, your home price. And so right now, even though we're at a really high home price index, home prices are starting to dip a little. And when the home prices start to dip, I think that's going to make one of the biggest, most meaningful differences in affordability. Because that rate, yes, the rate is high, so it's less affordable. But when home prices go down, then the whole payment that the rate is based on goes down. And then the fourth chart, year-over-year percent change in components of the Atlanta Fed's Home Ownership Affordability Monitor Index. It shows you the income, rates, and prices, and then as it relates to its index. It's just another interesting. I mean, it's not. I don't think this one is as telling as the others that we were looking at. So, but there you go. Check out the article. It's on CNBC. The housing market explained in 6 charts. There's a good chance that your clients are reading it or taking a look at it. So it's something that you might want to know. All right, let's talk about falling mortgage rates because it did just fall. Falling mortgage rates, rising supply create an opportunity for home buyers this summer, even amid record home prices. So this one is one that I think this was on the list last week, but I'm not sure that we covered it. If we did, forgive me. But it's got a really useful chart on here that is interactive, and it shows you at the different interest rates what payments you could afford at different home prices. So for instance, that does not, for the audio listeners, I apologize, that was not very clear. But for instance, how much a home you can afford as mortgage rates change. So when it was 2.5%, if you wanted $1,000 monthly payment, you could afford a $215,000 home. Okay, at that same time, if you wanted a $3,500 payment, you were looking at about a $780,000 home. Okay. Now, if you want a $3,500 payment, you're looking at $414,000. That is almost half. If you want to keep that $1,000 payment, you're looking at $118,000 instead of, what did we say it was? 225, 220, somewhere in that range. 223. So huge differences. That's $100,000 difference for the person that's just looking to pay $1,000. That is a almost 50% difference for the person that's looking to pay $3,500. So when people say, how's the market? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's at 10%. Wow. I just went off the rails on that. No. It's currently, I'm sorry. Hang on. In my head, I was like, no, that's way too high. All right. So let's compare it again. I'm sorry. At 2.3, 2.5, it was $219 for the $1,000 payment. Now at 7%, it's $148. So it's still almost $100,000 less, but it's not $118. For the $3,500 payment at that same 2.35, it's around $775 still. And now it's $514-ish, $516-ish. So you're still, I mean, it's $100,000 more, but it's still, 40%? So that's insane to me, that we are here. Now, hopefully what I think is going to happen is towards the end of the year, the 6% number, I think we're going to get closer to the 6% number. I don't think that we're going to get into the 5s. But if you're at 6%, let's see if I can get it right on the dot there. There it is. If you're at 6% trying to do a $1,000 payment, you're looking at $160,000. If you're at 6% with a $3,500 payment, you are looking at $559,000. So I think that's where we're going to land towards the end of the year. So it is going to be more affordable than it is right now, but not significantly. So this is why I think that the home prices is going to have a larger impact than the rate. Because if the rate goes down 1%, you go down from, if the rate goes down 1%, you're looking from 516, you can now afford up to, where's 6%? Let me find it. 559. But we're seeing some of our clients, a home that's priced currently at 560. I mean, they're going in way low with their offer. So we're seeing huge price drops off of list prices right now. And the other thing that these charts can't tell you is how many people are getting concessions paid. How many people are getting part of their closing costs covered? How many people are getting extra stuff? How many people are getting all the repairs? You remember when people were making offers with no repairs? That's not anymore. So now how many people are getting all the repairs done? So this is a much, much, much friendlier market for buyers than we've been in the last 3 or 4 years. And yet buyers don't seem to take the plunge because affordability is such a struggle right now. So it's bound to change.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are those buyer deals happening in every price sector, condition, location in your market?
Currently, yeah.
We're seeing, pockets where I'm able to negotiate 10% off the list price, but go up a couple $100,000 or ring the bell with condition or location, and you're still going to have, multiple offers and over asking.
Yeah, currently in our market, it's almost every price range. Even the cheap stuff. There's a lot of the stuff in the bottom 1/3 of the market right now that a regular first-time home buyer can't purchase because it's in such bad condition. So we're running into that where there's just they want to buy the house, but they can't buy the house because it doesn't have flooring or something that their loan wouldn't accept. But we are seeing in some cases able to negotiate the deal in which the seller actually fixes part of the property in order to get the deal done. So we are seeing in our market, I'm in Arkansas, and just as it relates to a pre-COVID comparison, so before COVID hit, I guess 2 or 3 years, everyone in the major cities, all my friends in the major cities in California were like, oh, we're getting multiple offers. I got 10 offers today. And I would list a property. If we listed it well, marketed it well, we might get 2 or 3 offers in the first week or so. So our market is slower than other markets around the economy, around the country. But when the pandemic hit, it hit us too. And we were, for the first time, a lot of agents getting 20, 30 offers on a property. It was insane. Well, now it seems to have cooled off considerably here. And that may be a trend that is hitting areas in the middle of the country fairly quickly. And maybe in the major cities, it's going to be a slower decline. Or maybe we have a lot of people that moved here into the middle of the country that are now being called back to work. And so that may be why you're seeing that, still low supply in some market segments and people moving back to your locations on the coasts. That would be an interesting study.
I think we've talked a lot about over the years of, the difference between middle America and around the major hubs. And I've always told people in my market, being 15 miles away from Boston and on the coast, that, we are typically the last ones into a down cycle and the first ones out.
Yeah. We're usually the last ones into an up cycle, right? So we see it going up everywhere. Yep. And then it finally goes up here. Yep. But we're also very, we don't have those huge spikes one way or the other. So it's fairly steady. But I would say we're not the last ones on a down cycle, but we'd be the last ones on a crash. It would take us a while to crash because we're so steady. But when the rest of the market is just kind of starting to slow down, we slow down pretty quick. Does that make sense? So we slow down fast, but we'll stay here for a long time, just like this.
Yeah, you're in a good economic location, just not one of the major hubs around the country.
Right. Yes, everything's more affordable here. You can still buy a loaf of bread for $1 here.
I saw your $250,000 listings this week too, and I got a kick out of that. Sadly,
yeah,
can't buy a shoebox around here for that. Unfortunately,
it's a good starter home here, and it's pretty nice. Maybe needs a little bit of elbow grease, but it's fair. It's fair here for that. Good location too. All right, so let's talk about the monies. Mortgage refinance demand jumps to a 2-year high as interest rates drop. Always on these articles, if you've never watched this, scroll down because it will tell you the applications to purchase a home. So applications to purchase a home fell 3% for the week and were 14% lower than the same week a year ago. And that's basically due to home prices. Home prices and rates still being a little high. Now, the last time that we dipped into the 6s, we actually saw an increase in the number of people that were applying for a mortgage. And we're just not seeing that right now. I don't know. Maybe some of it, maybe everybody's on vacation, summertime, all that kind of stuff. But I thought that was interesting. We, usually when you see a dip, we do see that number go up, but this time it did fall 3% for the week. So this is one of the reasons why high mortgage rates are holding back the builder confidence. NAHB has an article talking about the builder confidence in the market for newly single family homes was 42. So anything below 50 is considered negative home builder sentiment. So while buyers appear to be waiting for lower interest rates, the 6-month sales expectation for builders moved higher, indicating that builders expect mortgage rates to edge lower this year as inflation data are showing signs of easing, said NAHB Chairman Carl Harris. Though inflation is still above the Federal Reserve's target of 2%, it appears to be back on a cooling trend. NHB is forecasting the Fed reductions to begin at the end of this year. So remember when we talked about like 3 or 4 drops towards the end of the year? It seems like there may only be one. And while home buying inventory is increasing, total market inventory remains lean at 4.4 months supply, indicating in the long run the need for more new home construction. I can tell you, if rates do go down lower than 6, if we do get into the 5s, I think we're going to see home prices spike again, just because there is not enough inventory, which that article just echoed. The other thing that's affecting home builders that's not fun are home building prices. We talked about lumber prices last week because Hillary had actually brought that to my attention. Was it 2-3 weeks ago? She was like, have you checked the lumber prices lately? I was like, no, but they were down, which is great. But now we have this article this week. June marks the highest yearly increase in building material prices since February of 2023. So it's still a lot lower than what it was in 2020. Look at this chart. This chart looks like I don't know what this shape is. An N and like a lowercase n. And it's just a bell curve. Yeah, a bell curve. It's a bell curve. And basically through the pandemic is the curve of the bell. And now we're down here. It is going up slightly, but it looks like it's comparable to where it was in 2019 or so. Maybe 2018. So inputs to residential constructions, which represent building materials used in residential construction, rose 0.19% in June. Year-over-year growth has continued to climb. June's increase of 2.65% was the highest since February of 2023. Despite overall inflation declining, prices of inputs in residential construction have accelerated since the start of the year. Are your builders talking about this? Are they complaining about the labor prices or the materials prices more? Land in our area is not going up crazy. You can still find some good properties, but it appears that the labor is currently high and the materials are high for most of my builders. That's what they're talking about. All right. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say labor definitely. Materials are still pretty high, though, relatively speaking. I think just to what, outside of the last 4 years, of course, because we all know what wood was doing. But sorry, couldn't resist.
Wood went way up.
Wood is so high, okay?
It's so high. But my administration. Sorry. So we'll keep working it. I got 4 years.
So I talked to the builder yesterday. Yeah, that's Tuesday. And he said, materials have kind of softened a little bit, but not even remotely close to what he needed. And he's like a semi-custom guy, so he builds 5 to 10 homes a year. But his problem is labor, finding good people to do the work, but to do it consistently. Because 5 to 10 homes a year is not a ton. But it's literally just him, acting as a builder / general contractor. So, but yeah, he definitely was talking more about labor than he was materials. And honestly, I feel like I have a couple clients at the moment that have thought about building, mostly because of the last couple of years, the price of materials in particular, and the price that builders were charging for like a semi-custom build. And the lack of inventory, of course, because there was nothing else to buy. They were like, well, if we can't buy it, we might as well build it. And then prices started shooting up, and they're like, well, now it doesn't make sense to build it either. So, so I don't know, but I feel like here in Atlanta, it's definitely a lot more labor discussions than it is materials.
Yeah. And we have, I had an investor that was buying and flipping houses here. And he was like, how come I cannot get a good price on this material? And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was some kind of wood floor. I was like, what are you talking about? This is a pretty good price. And he was like, in California, it's 30% off from what I'm paying in Arkansas. And so I looked into it and I figured it out. It was actually from the same supplier, but because they have to ship it to the middle of the country, he pays more for it in Arkansas. And he was like, well, I've got to send a group of guys out there anyway. I'm just going to make them drive the materials out. So he made them load up the materials from California and drive it out to Arkansas to save that 30%. So, I know materials costs are higher. Some materials costs are higher for those of us in the middle, instead of on the coast. But I think labor is high everywhere. Even here, we have a low cost of living, so you can get away with paying workers and stuff a little less here, and it's fine. Compared to everything else in the marketplace, it's still high. And so builders still have to kind of eke up that price a little bit. But we'll see what happens. I actually just listed 6 new properties that are all new construction, and one is finished and the others are on the way. And it'll be good to kind of see how these happen. They're a bit towards the luxury price range in our market, which Jack, our luxury price range is just over 600 to 700. So we'll see what happens and how fast they move, but they're really nice homes. They're great houses, tons of space. But we'll see what happens with it. Okay. Let's see. What's the other article? Rent caps. So some of you guys in the big cities, I saw you all talking about this a lot. I don't know how it's going to affect our market, but this is from the NAHB. It says the Biden plan to cap rents at 5% would deter production and harm affordability. Carl Harris, the chairman of the National Association of Home Builders and a custom home builder for Wichita, Kansas, today issued the following statement after President Biden announced he's proposing cap rents at 5% per year for landlords who own more than 50 units. So that's a key qualifier there. Rent control in any form is bad for housing, and President Biden's tax plan to cap rents at 5% on existing multifamily structures will worsen the affordability crisis by discouraging developers from building new rental housing units at a time when the nation is experiencing a shortfall. Now, I agree with Carl on some things, but I disagree with him on others. I agree that rent control is a bad idea. But I disagree that the rent control is going to prevent a whole bunch of multifamily units from being built. I think we've seen in the last 4 or 5 months, the reason why multifamily units are not being built is because they're not getting the rates that they can on the rental, and the market itself is controlling that. So I think it's really interesting that as the market starts to adjust and those rent rates are already going down and vacancy rates are going up, now the government steps in to try to put a cap on rent rate increases. They're like, what, 3 or 4 years too late? If they were going to do this, they're way late doing it. So now the market is kind of in control. And if you do something now, it's going to really affect it. That's where I do agree with Carl. If you put something in place now, it's going to be really bad. But I think had they done that, I think they know that it would have prevented new structures from being built, and they were a severe shortage of those multifamily units where we're not now. So the article is also on Broke Agent Media, and they kind of say the same. I think their analysis is real similar to the NAHB about it. Okay, I want to get to this article. What 10 states do you think are the best states for buying and selling a home in 2024? And number 1 has a big caveat. So drop it in the comments wherever you're watching, Facebook, Instagram. If you're over on LinkedIn, hey, for the folks on LinkedIn. By the way, go to LinkedIn/advice. There's I don't know what it is. It's not a blog, but there's AI questions there, and they're asking professionals to answer them. I don't know. I answered a bunch of them just to see what would happen. But go to LinkedIn/advice. It's either advice or advise. I think it's advice. And look in the real estate category. See if you see me. All right, we've got some guesses so far. Got to be Hawaii, then Atlanta. That's Matt Lamash. Only a tropical island could beat us. Hot Atlanta. It's super hot right now, right? All right, what other guesses do you have? America's 10 best states for buying and selling a home. It's states, so it would be Georgia. You'd have to take all of Georgia into account, Matt. So maybe not. All right, here's go ahead and drop your guesses. Pause it right here if you're watching the replay. If you're listening to the podcast and you have my phone number. Just text me what you think right now. Just pause it. Text me what you think. You can go back. 10 best states for buying and selling a home in 2024. Here it is. Number 10, Delaware. Interesting. Housing affordability is about average in the first state, but your Delaware housing dollar gets a big boost from very low property taxes. Hillary said, somewhere I'd never guess, New York or Alabama. Maybe. All right, so number 10 is Delaware. 2024 economy rank is number 10. Appreciation 4.73%. Inventory is 2 months. Number 9, Indiana. Indiana, the Hoosier state. Does Indiana have shirts that say Hoosier Daddy for parents of Hoosier? I want that shirt. I'm not a Hoosier fan. The 2024 economy rank is number 19. Appreciation is 8%. Hillary said, yep, they do have that shirt. Okay. Inventory is 2 months. Affordability score is 0.8. So it's a rare combination of affordability, including low property taxes, as well as healthy price appreciation. Number 8. Number 8 is Georgia. Look at that. The economy rank is number 7. Appreciation is 7.16. Inventory is 3 months. Affordability score is 0.59. The home inventories are building the Peach State, which is good for affordability. Home builders have been active as well. Still, price appreciation remains healthy. The median sales price in Georgia is $385. Number 7. You're the only 10 I see. Tennessee, the volunteer state. New law requires incentives for more affordable housing in multifamily units. In the single-family market, inventory has started to build, which has moderated price gains and could bring more buyers to the market. Move me to Tennessee. She's my friend. They also have some of the lowest property taxes in the country. But affordability is still an issue there. The economy rank is number 3. Appreciation is 6.24%. Inventory is 3 months. And the affordability score is 0.49. The median sales price in Tennessee is $393,000. It's because we won that lottery. Hillary, which lottery was it? What are you talking about? I remember when Tennessee first kind of caught my eye is when you guys were doing fiber in Chattanooga. I think you were some of the first like B cities, not to say you're second best, but it's not LA. But I think you were some of the first like cities in the middle of the country to start to say, hey, if we all have fiber here, we can attract maybe some Silicon Valley type of businesses. That's when Tennessee started going high up on my radar. So Tennessee has 393,000. All right, number 6, that's the median price. Number 6 is Nevada. Nevada, the Silver State. I didn't know it was called the Silver State. Housing market is historically volatile, and this year is no exception, but inventory is manageable and housing construction is active. While affordability continues to be an issue, prices have moderated. I feel like on every one of these summaries it says, while affordability continues to be an issue. The economy is ranked number 8. The appreciation is 3.39%. That's not very high appreciation. I am your daddy. That's what Matt Lamarche says in the Trump voice. Affordability score is 0.43. Effective property tax rate 0.48. Median sales price is $458,000. All right, number 5. This one I didn't anticipate. New Jersey. New Jersey, the Garden State. Last year, the housing market remains active. Let's see, home prices surged last year. The housing market remains active. Affordability could be better. See, it's the same on all of them. However, New Jersey is the second highest property taxes in the nation. Oof. You know who has the first highest property taxes in the nation? I didn't suspect this. In my head, I'm thinking it's got to be California, got to be New York. It's Illinois. Huh. And a high foreclosure rate over in New Jersey. So the economy rank is...
It's why... Hey, Ray, it's why all of us people that are originally born and raised from New Jersey moved the hell out of there and moved south. It's been... Taxes have been like crazy for years up there. I mean, hell,
Really?
My parents owned a house up there on 3.5 acres, and my dad, before he retired, was paying almost $20,000 a year in property taxes
Good
alone.
grief.
So, yeah. And that's going back about 10 years ago. So, yeah, that's New Jersey's just stupid for some reason. Great place. Love it. I'm a Jersey guy. Love my pork roll. Love my pork roll, egg, and cheese, and love my Jersey Shore, but everything else, yeah, no. Sorry, I'm glad to be down in Georgia.
And there's some kind of like ham debate.
That's pork roll, egg, and cheese. They call it. Okay, so
So there, this is the thing.
Your show. I'll make it quick. But they call it. There's Taylor ham or there's pork roll, and Taylor is the brand name. Pork roll is the actual product, but apparently in Jersey, north and south, apparently people just can't decide what is a brand name and what's a product. So it's an issue. But we will go with pork roll here.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. So it's not a Taylor ham. It's a pork roll. But the company name is Taylor ham. It's like Kleenex.
It's called Taylor. Taylor is the actual company and the actual person that created it. Pork roll is the actual product. So it'll say on there,
Okay.
Taylor. And by the way, it never says ham anywhere on the product. So yeah, I'm just a little enthusiastic about it, but it never says ham. It's pork roll. So yeah, Jersey's just a messed up place to begin with. So.
You can order it on Amazon. It is, by the way, it's Prime Day.
I can get it for you for a discount because I know some suppliers.
This is 60% off on Amazon right now. It's John Taylor's pork roll, and it is $19 right now, 60% off. Maybe it's the Prime Day. This is Prime Day. If you're looking for some Prime Day deals, go to Ray Zorback on Instagram, and I've got my link tree in the bio. And I've got all my like studio build out, podcast build out, all that stuff in there. So feel free to go get some deals on that stuff if you're looking. I had no idea that you could order it on. I feel like ordering food like that from Amazon, it's just not gonna make it here right. All right, so let's go back to the top 10 places. New Jersey. Thank you for the insight to New Jersey. The median sales price there is $532. All right, number 4 best place for buying and selling of real estate is North Carolina. Come on and raise up. Take your shirt off, twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter. Home builders are busy in the Tar Heel state, with the second highest level of housing starts last year after fast-growing Alabama. Inventory is still tight, enough to keep price appreciation strong. Oh, Hillary said the Tennessee, that's right, the lottery for the federal government funding for affordable housing. That's the law that they refer to in the article. That's the lottery that Hillary was talking about for Tennessee. All right, so for North Carolina, the economy rank is number 4. Appreciation is 6.98. Inventory is 2 months. And the median sales price is $383. Matt Lamar says, Corn Pop was a bad dude. He had a shirt on a helicopter. Nice. All right, the number 3 best state for buying and selling real estate is Arizona. Arizona. Sellers continue making decent gains in the Grand Canyon state, Even though home inventory builds, construction activity is strong, and home equity is healthy. Property taxes are low, but so is housing affordability. Appreciation is 6.63%. The economy rank is number 5. Inventory is 3 months, and the median sales price is $450,000. All right, number 2. I'm going pretty slow, so you guys can continue to guess. Number 2, South Carolina. So we had North Carolina. Now we have South Carolina. Home prices are rising in the Palmetto state, but housing remains relatively affordable. The price appreciation may bring more construction activity, which is one reason inventory levels are rising. Property taxes are low. However, home equity could be better. Home foreclosures are on the high side. So it sounds like a good place for investors. Number 12 in the economy, appreciation is high, 9.42%. Inventory is 3 months, and the median sales price is $387,000. All right, number 1. Who's got number 1? Drop in the comments. What's number 1? We've been through all these. You know now. Janet. Janet over on Clubhouse in the comment section says, yes, who's your daddy? Indiana Hoosiers. That's funny. All right. Number 1 is, I'll give you just a couple another second. Anyone want to? Florida. Florida. The Sunshine State. So the housing market is notoriously tricky to gauge, but this much we know: home values are appreciating. Home builders are busy trying to meet the demand and as new residents pour into the state. Property taxes, while not the lowest, help to counteract the state's ongoing affordability issues. Some trends are more concerning, like rising foreclosures and the number of underwater mortgages. I know they didn't mean for it to be punny, but it is punny talking about Florida flooding, underwater mortgages. The state is also trying to work its way out of a serious insurance crisis that has major implications for home values and affordability. Climate risk in Florida, including the risk to housing stock, is real. But for now, Florida real estate market is striking a decent balance, albeit a tenuous one, and that is helping to power the nation's strongest overall economy. So its economic rank is number 1. Appreciation is 6.85. Inventory is 4 months, and the median sales price is $420,000. So I guess the caveat they're talking about, the one big caveat for number 1, is the insurance issues that they're having in Florida right now, which a lot of my Floridian friends have told me about. I think the other caveat for Florida would be the condo issue that they did not mention. But I'm interested in how that's going to affect the overall economy there. Because you can't lower the prices of condos, but they're less desirable now because of the additional fees. And the reason why it's hard to lower the prices of condos is because it just gets to a point where they're not making any money. And then it becomes attractive for investors, put renters there. I don't know what they're going to do. We'll see. But for now, it is number 1. I think the climate risk, that's the only one where they put in the climate risk, was Florida. All the others had no climate risk, apparently. I'm surprised they didn't mention water issues for Nevada. It's always something in any of these states. All right, well that's all I got for the show today. There's a lot going on out there, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for downloading the show and the podcast. And just remember to love your fellow man out there. You guys may disagree hugely, bigly in politics, but I think now's the time for all of us to kind of come together a bit. You might remember my former co-host, Dan. We saw eye to eye on most things, but we were completely different politically. And so hopefully everyone can kind of strive for that type of unity. But we will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining the show. And if y'all want to, I'm only going to do it if y'all reach out. If y'all want to, we can have a listener show for the last show of the month. So you'll let me know.
We should have a meetup, Ray, and I'll bring the pork roll.
You bring that Taylor ham, buddy. We'll do it.
How dare you?
All right, everybody. I'll see y'all next week. Thanks for joining us.